Hi guys, my name's Mike Sonnenberg, and all I'm going to be doing right now is just giving you a little more information on introducing new knowledge, and I'm just doing it in a way that I introduce in my science class to my students, and one way that I find is very engaging for them. So we're just going to go through the basic components. I'm sure there's probably a lot of you in the room that know more about these ELEs than I do. I'm relatively new to the district. But what we're hoping is that we can have everybody kind of facilitate discussion. And so I'm just going to breeze through the key points. And if there's something that you didn't know, great. If there's some stuff you knew, hopefully just the whole concept of screencasting or different ways to introduce this new knowledge maybe helps you out a little bit. So the first thing is, how are you going to hook students? So what are you going to do to get their attention? One of my ideas, I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but I'm going to try it out, is I'm going to go buy a chair and I'm going to let kids write on it. They can write science stuff on it, nothing inappropriate, with pen, and then at the end of the unit, I'm going to say, okay, take the ink out, dab it, do whatever you need. So that'll be their mission to get that out, and it's fun and engaging. Why are we writing on this chair? Why are we allowed to do this? And I'll tell them at the start, there's a reason you're allowed to do that, but you have to wait till the end of the unit. So hopefully it works. It hooks students, it gets them interested, makes them curious, and it's just ways. And I'll say that chemistry is going to help us with that chair, but I won't tell them why. So I try to hook them a little bit there. What instructional strategies are you going to use? And then why are you going to use those strategies? So I just basically have a table here with 6 strategies. We know these strategies. Which ones are you going to use, and why are you using them though in your class? And with particular your students, and we know that our classes are all different from each year, and our students are so different, so we have to sometimes use a variety of these instructional methods and strategies. So which ones are you using? How are you going to engage your students? Now this is why I use screencast, and if you just look over here, got a little Tweety bird, that's Twitter, and I use Twitter with my students. I find it's a great way to engage. I can send my screencasts, I can talk in discussion, students can give me questions or ask me questions, but using technology as much as possible I find is a great way to engage students, and also just the way you present it and your attitude and stuff can really hook students in. But again, you guys probably have several different ways to engage students, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say as well. But I know technology is huge for me in engaging my students, and I try to use it as much as I can. How are you going to activate prior knowledge? So I use KWL charts all the time. There's so many different methods, and this is one that I really hope we have a good discussion on, because I would really like to hear what you say as well. Then how are you going to differentiate your lessons? I thought this picture was quite appropriate here, because we're all at the same level, but how are we going to do it, right? So how are you going to differentiate your levels? For me, I find, say, screencasting or using technology allows me to really differentiate. Some students, then I can tier my lessons, same material, but I can really provide more enrichment activities, and I can make sure that everyone's meeting, having their needs met and feeling success. But how are we doing that? And so when we're introducing new knowledge, how are we doing this in a way that we differentiate to make sure that every student feels success? And then lastly, what questions are you going to ask? And I learned something about this year, is that you need to have good questions going into a topic, and that's one way to engage your students. And I didn't have quality questions at the start, but then I actually got to watch somebody model teaching for me, and I saw they asked such great questions, and the kids were hooked. And so I've made a point of thinking, when I introduce new knowledge, I want to ask a lot of questions. And I probably didn't ask you guys questions on the screencast, but I'm supposed to breeze through it. So anyways, that's my part. I want you to pause the video. I want you to write down or rewind the video if you need, and I want you to write down things that you do at each one of these levels. So each of these questions I want you to answer it and think about what do you do in your classroom, and then we can have a sharing discussion back in the class, and I'll give it back, or I'll send it back over to Lee. All right, thanks guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the screencast.